What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. Anti-gay. Donald Trump, stay away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Donald Trump, stay away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Donald Trump, stay away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Well done. Okay, let's go for Trump. Come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for racist, sexist, anti-gay. Donald Trump, stay away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Donald Trump, stay away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Donald Trump, stay away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for... What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. Please could you veer to the right, please? Please veer to the right. I know it pains me to say it, but please veer to the right. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. When do we want it? Now. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. Trump, come off it. You're in it for the profit. What do we want? Climate action. Now.
Climate action. Now.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your robust chanting. You outdid the people on the March for Science last week.
When you were away on holiday last
We're here in Marketplace to hear most of our speakers. The location resonates for a couple of reasons. The first is that it was here that we had 4 demonstrations already after the 20th of January to protest against Donald Trump, and I would like to salute Kirkley Stand Up to Racism for organising those. Particularly successful was one on Monday the 30th of January, protesting an emergency protest against the Muslim ban. But the second reason we're here is because this is a place which is surrounded by banks, by Barclays, by HSBC, just over there, and by RBS. And one of the first signs that Donald Trump intended to bring into effect his anti-climate rhetoric was his signing of executive orders to resume work on the North Dakota pipeline and the Keystone XL pipeline. And these pipelines are financed by many banks, including banks in our country, including Barclays and HSBC. And the Keystone XL pipeline will be pumping oil from tar sands from Canada. And those tar sands fields are funded by RBS, which is just behind us. That's just one of many ways in which we can campaign against Trump in our own country and against his fossil fuel agenda. I'll talk to you in a minute. We're now going to hand over to our speakers. And we're under real time pressure, so we've got 3 speakers, and I'm going to ask that I've asked them to limit their speeches to 3 minutes in length. First of all, we're going to ask Roger Keeley from Stand Up to Racism who, as I've said, an organisation that has organised several protests against Trump to speak about Trump, his Muslim ban and his racism.
Talk about is the election, because although I welcome the election, because it gives us a chance to get rid of this vile Tory government, and I really think there is a genuine chance with get rid of the austerity and the warmongering and so on. It just improves the prospects for that. However, it also improves, increases the danger of racism from the top and in society. After the referendum, the EU referendum, racist attacks increased 40-odd%, and there's no doubt there was a spike in racism as a result of that racist campaign and the feeling of the racists in that campaign that they got what they wanted, that was the meaning of the referendum decision. So there is a real danger in this election, the same way that the Tories, especially in trying to defend their attacks on ordinary people and on standards of living and on public services, while they're declining, they will, and people are unhappy about that, they will try and deflect the blame onto scapegoats, especially minorities and especially refugees and migrants. There is a real danger of that, and we really want to be a bulwark against that in the lead up to the election. So we are having a day of action on May the 10th. There'll be other events. I've got a leaflet two leaflets in my hand actually. One, full rights for EU nationals in Britain now, which of course is an absolutely key issue. The Tories just using something like 3 million people in the EU, in Britain, EU nationals in Britain. Many of them have been living in Britain for decades and are now feeling at risk, and they're being told, oh, it'll all be all right, and yet the Tories are to actually make it all right, and so it's a very dangerous situation. And the other one is keep racism out of the election.
To have Hester Dunlop speak. She is a local GP, and she is also a women's officer with Colne Valley Labour Party. Dunlop.
Oh, hello. That's good. Okay, I've never ever stood up on a platform before, so here goes. I'm not going to say very much because you're all with us, hopefully. All I'm going to say is, for goodness sake, vote in the general election and vote for who you think is right. The Labour Party has been through its good times and its bad times recently, let's not pretend that, but it's still our best chance of getting rid of this Tory government. I've been the Labour Women's Officer just for a few short months, and in that time we run a local campaign in the Colne Valley against domestic violence at the Red and Green Club. We're going to be setting up a free food kitchen in the Red and Green Club, and we're also training women in the Colne Valley to become more active, because everything that's happening with this current government, nationally and globally, that we see is against women's rights. Women are having to bear the brunt of most of these cuts, whether it's health, welfare, education, the money in your pocket, and of course we've got the bigger agenda, climate change, that which we all feel passionately about. Now, I'm also a local GP, and I've seen firsthand how the cuts affect us. I've seen firsthand how people are struggling now to make ends meet when they come to see me. I've seen firsthand how people are struggling to wait on waiting lists that are getting longer and longer at the hospital. I've seen people struggling to wait to see me, sometimes up to 4 weeks, just to see their own GP. Things aren't going to get any better under this current government, they're only going to get worse. And we need to act, and we need to be strong. Thank you.
Our final speaker I'm really pleased to introduce is Martin Jones. He's been a very loyal supporter of climate activism in Huddersfield over the past 10 years or so. He's a member of the SWP and a local activist who is going to be speaking in a similar way about the connections between what's happening in America and our country. Martin.
Right, firstly I'd like to thank Clee's Campaign Against Climate Change for organising this chance to these really important issues and gives us a chance to show our solidarity with the people across the world who are demonstrating today to mark Trump's 100 days. And I'd like to thank the previous speakers for outlining things so clearly, in particular the problems there are about the climate change catastrophe that we're facing. You know, the world's people are in a dangerous position and it's likely to have a horrible impact on our children and grandchildren. In my mind, this is the question, why in the face of such overwhelming evidence are our rulers being so obstinate in climate change denial? Why is it that people like Trump are so nasty when they're challenged about it? I think you have to remember that at the heart of the system is a fossil fuel economy, a fossil capital that's central to the wealth and the benefit of our rulers. You think how many of the world's major corporations are linked to fossil fuels, you know, the oil, the companies, the car makers and so on. And any serious action over climate change is going to mean they have to write off billions in capital value, and they're just not prepared to do this. People like Trump are just not willing to give up the money and the privilege that fossil fuel brings to them. So it's very important that we do what we can. You know, the efforts at recycling, and by the way, the Clee's record on this is pretty deplorable at the moment. Things like reducing our carbon footprints, stuff like this. But it's also very important that we go beyond this and we challenge the unregulated pursuit of power and profit that is going to ruin the planet and our lives on it if we don't do something about it. Trump has done his best to encourage climate change denial, but in the last 100 days he's also been doing plenty of other horrible things. And one of the worst is this dreadful bellicose saber rattling that he's been doing. More bombing in Iraq and Syria with the risk of conflict with Russia. The mother of all bombs in Afghanistan, so called because it's the biggest non-nuclear bomb ever. And then, just to up the stakes even more, most recently we've had the nuclear posturing in Korea. The world is a lot less safe than it was 100 years ago. So what we need to do, we need to build a climate change movement, we need to build a peace movement, an anti-racist movement, and these things aren't different, they're all part of the same struggle to improve things. So what I'd like to say is that what we need more than anything is solidarity. Solidarity with the people across the world who are fighting climate change, especially in the United States, for example, the Native Americans who are protesting against the pipelines. Solidarity in this country where Theresa May wants to be Trump's most loyal supporter, both on questions of warfare and climate change and all the other things. And solidarity with the victims of aggression across the world, but especially in South Korea, where through mass action they just got rid of a corrupt reactionary president, and now people are having to mobilise again to combat the threat of military annihilation. So I think the message that we've got to take is solidarity, peace, climate justice. Thank you.